So, John, you asked consumers kind of annoyingly regularly what they want, and specifically in these areas across paid and free and back again. What do they want? What from, looking back over the last 2 years of your surveys,
Yeah.
and you do them really regularly, what do you think the consumer is saying to us right now?
I think across the board, we're finding that people are using more entertainment sources of all kinds, but video specifically. It peaked last year at a little more than seven sources per person. It went down a little bit for the first time this year to a little bit more than six, but that's still the second highest number we've ever seen. So people are availing themselves of all of these different options that are out there. They're kind of creating their own bundles. There's stacks of video services, some of them that do really similar things. And I guess if we were going to, how do they feel about it? They're really excited about the variety of options that they have. They're really excited about the amount and the quality of content that's available. But the congestion, the amount of stuff they're trying to use in the same 24-hour day creates this environment where they have two problems, and they're, I'd call them first world problems, but they're people being who they are. They're very important to them.
Yeah.
One is complexity. So just the task of trying to use all of these platforms that don't necessarily exist
Right.
within one bundle yet.
Walled garden, walled garden to walled garden.
Yep. And then pretty closely associated with that is this idea of value. So people are really willing to spend on TV, and they're a lot more willing to spend on TV than they are some other things. But as these stacks get bigger, they are less willing to sort of take a flyer and try out a new paid platform just for the heck of it to see what it's like. And they're thinking a lot harder about, am I getting enough value out of this or enough utility for what I'm paying? And that's, I hasten to point out that that's different than how much something costs. There are things that cost more than others that people still think that they're more valuable because they have better utility. But I think it does create that they're looking with a lot keener eye at, am I getting enough use out of this platform to be worth it? And then if they're not, they're more likely to drop it and take that money and transfer it to something different.
Yeah, I saw a study of yours. In fact, I think we shared a stage talking about this study at one point where, over 35, under 35 consumers have something like 16 services, free and paid, that they use on a regular basis. Over 35, they have 11. But in both cases, out of all the must-have media they have, only half of that 16 is considered must-have, which means actually less than half is considered must-have, which means the other more than half is at risk on an ongoing basis.
On the bubble.
Paul, Paul, when you look out across the data you've seen, and when you have conversations with the clients that you have, what have you seen that effectively moves you from kind of nice to have to must have? Are you seeing different platforms or different programmers or different publishers utilize content differently or utilize packaging differently to basically move their services from the kind of nice to have but disposable to that must have column?
That's a magic question for a lot of services. I think, you have, what they can do within their own content portfolio, right? Which is to get better at personalization, making sure that they're super serving the interests that they know their viewer has. But beyond that, I think, also understanding, is there a possibility for us to to be part of a bundle, to make a bundle a must-have, right? To see strength in that collaboration, because it's getting more difficult to keep people within a single service, right? And it's an ongoing issue with OTT in that, it's a bit unfair to compare it to traditional pay TV, because that dynamic of locking people in, it will never be the same as it is with traditional
for the large bundle, and then within that bundle to the triple play itself too.
Yeah, and this contract and so on. And so it's always going to be easier to leave an OTT service, right? That just goes with it. So I think that, going forward, we see certain services that are very niche doing well also. So we know that people are very interested in certain niches, and they're often willing to leave a service if that show they like is not there, right? So you get strength in collaboration, where maybe if you are challenged to, you've done the most you can do personalization wise, you have figured out to really engage your particular viewership, then the next extension beyond that sometimes is to find out, okay, so what can we do from a packaging perspective? What can we do from other companies within our own corporate portfolio to where the collective is the most effective lock-in? So I think we're going to see a lot of evolution towards, exploring these bundles and collaborations as a way of extending the power of what you can do within your own content portfolio and offering.